It's always fun to hear what people think, because people have a lot of stories and ideas what it's about, and it's very seldom the same that we are thinking, because every individual person has their own ideas, and I really like hearing that, what people think.
Yeah, and you can't, I mean, that's the thing, that if you want to say something, but we are not teachers, you get more from not understanding that much, because what you think you understand is anyway just limited to your mind. And there's other ways of understanding than in language. I'm Nathalie, and I work with Hans. I do the animations and sculptures.
My name is Hans Berg, and I do music, and I also collaborate on many other things with Nathalie, on sculptures and the films and light and sound.
So right now we're on the countryside, about an hour from Gothenburg, where I live and have my studio, where Hans comes around 1 week a month or something to work here.
Yeah.
Så mycket på väggarna där bak.
Så vad vi kan
Jag tycker golvet är jättebra. But that was not a choice, working together. Or at least not a conscious choice. We had a friend in common who insisted that Hans make music for me, and I was quite reluctant of sharing my practice at that time. But once Hans made the first track to an animation, it was no question, at least not for me. I think it might have been more of a question for Hans, I'm not sure.
It was more like I didn't want to interfere too much in your work. So I thought, when I'm making music for a film, it changes the film so much, it influences the film so much. I was scared of stepping too much on your work.
I think that is what is so amazing with it, because when I give an animation to Hans, he makes the music, we speak about it some in the process, but it's really his process, the music, and then it's one step removed from me, which is lovely, which makes it easier for me to accept the piece. I think before him I would more make and hide, or make something, throw it away. But it's good with that distance.
Yeah, just as making music for a film, you have such a ready framework already. You have the film to make music to. And reacting to what Nathalie made. So that's such a fun challenge. I mean, as you said, when you limit your options, you can get more creative within that smaller space. And I really liked that process.
I didn't take the decision until I had gone a few years in the art academy. When I felt like I wanted to quit, like I felt like I wanted to do something else, and felt like it was a hoax. and not what my fantasy had promised art to be. But that was when I discovered animation, and since I'm not schooled in it, I could do whatever I want, which was basically just sort of a vomiting out of desires and things I did not understand, or things that I was fascinated with. And it didn't become art until I made the turnaround and asked myself why I needed to do that. And then it became art.
I think I made music out of necessity. I don't come from a musical home, but I was just making music when I was a child. I had this little keyboard that I made my songs on when I was a child, and then I started playing drums, and I just had to do music. And I also made electronic music at home in my tiny home studio when I met Nathalie. But I didn't really put it anywhere. I didn't think I could be a musician. I didn't think that was like something you could work with. When I met Nathalie, my output found an outlet. There was somewhere I could put it, and it clicked so well. You can translate a texture or a color into a sound, and an atmosphere in a film into a mood in music, or that's how I work. So I think the tactility of the films, it's really helpful, because it's like almost, I can almost hear how it would sound. The way I work with synthesizers. I don't work with so many acoustic instruments, for instance, but I have all these cables and pots and things that I connect all the synths and do. So it's a tactile process as well.
There is comedy inherent in the materials, which I love. I do miss the monumental things sometimes, but that wouldn't really coincide with my personality, I think. I don't consider it film or anything like that. Since I'm self-taught and no one taught me, I feel free to do however I wanted to do. It doesn't have to have a great beginning, a middle part that makes sense, and an ending that ties the knot. It doesn't have to have that. It's an idea and an exploration most of the time. So when I have an idea, which is lovely, no matter how brutal it is, the idea is anyway lovely. I start to make puppets and the scenario, and in that I also then discovered that what was not so physical with the idea, but usually I still have keep very much with the feeling of it. But nothing never ever for me turns out exactly what I thought it was supposed to be, even with the perfection. That the few times I managed to do something as perfect as I wanted, I threw it away because it didn't have any meaning to me whatsoever. So a lot of the meaning comes with the failures, or with the disappointment, or with the questions. So for me it's an exploration.
My perspective is a bit different than Nathalie's, but it's similar, but it's 1,000 times faster, because my process is so much faster. So I go through these ups and downs and times of agony and extreme joy, but it's it's much quicker than Nathalie's. And when you take the thing, what you can take your film, the film can take a direction, and then you have to go with that. Whereas in the music, I can actually change back. I can do different variations and pick the one I like the most. So it's a bit different in that way too, because it's not physical. I don't build. When you animated something, that happened. So in a weird, the music is very, you can't touch it. So I can always like do two versions.
The more finished you make a puppet, like the more it say about it. I mean, clothing tells you about the culture. Skin color tells about the culture and the ethnicity. It's so many things you can say. It's more difficult when you don't want to put labels or to avoid putting labels. And even when you don't want to put labels, you sometimes like it happens anyway because it's in it. If you want to have just like a characteristic, it can be quite gratifying to use an animal instead, and funny and lovely in that way. Even if you would use the animal as we are looking at the animal characteristic, like in fables and stuff like that, what a wolf is, like characteristics of that in a way makes it a little bit in some way freer, but also more distinct.
And the animals and the people aren't like actors. They aren't their specific roles. They're symbols of different meaning and feelings and things happening, like roles happening. Like if there's a situation about power dynamics, they are just symbolic characters in this. It's not about them. They don't have names or backstories. So that's why it's working very well to have, if you have a wolf, but maybe he's dressed in a very soft outfit, then it can get confusing, and you play with that. Or like the sad wolf is very common. There's always a crying wolf.
Oh, how could you resist that? How could you resist a crying wolf? I don't think that anyone have ever in the history of mankind have made an idea. I don't think it's possible to make an idea. You can only prepare the soil for it, and the preparing of the soil is examining or following what you are interested in that moment. But we sort of speak of it as an upside down umbrella where the rain comes, that like everything you experience, dream, read, hear, all your thoughts are distilled. It drops down, that one drop that goes through contains a little bit of it all, and that is the idea. And that's amazing that you can't know where ideas come from. And you look back, or I look back, or we look back, and I wonder, like, but how did this happen? And it happened. You can't make it. It's not something you make. Once I have started, after a while, I will forget the idea. The idea will be lost. But hopefully the flow have taken over then. The flow of making it, the ups and downs of trying to get there. It gets a life of its own, which I mostly maybe afterwards I really enjoy. We do enjoy it in the making, but it can be, I mean, that part can be difficult to stay with, but the disappointment and the elation.
I don't make ideas, but what you say, preparing the soil, I think it's very important to be very open, because if you're not open, you have to be open to receive ideas. And that's what I mean, I don't make them. If I'm open, ideas can come. If I'm closed down, there's nowhere ideas can arrive to me.
That would make me so frustrated if I would hear it, and if I was on a dry, and I would say then, well, how do I keep myself open?
Do less.
But I also think that, except for the comedy that is built in the medium, there is also closeness. And I think that it has to do with the tactility of it, and also the non-perfection of it, that keeps you close, and in a way maybe closer to the maker of it then also, because it is so full of flaws. It's there's so much imperfection in it, and there's a vulnerability in that. Yeah. And the more vulnerable, the more painful, but also the more beauty.
They are so unfinished in a way that you have to, and handmade, you have to, and tactile, you have to feel, as a viewer, you have to feel in yourself. You have to be part of the story as well to make it work, because it is clay animation, and the blood coming out is clay, blub, 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 coming like this. So you have to feel in yourself in it, and I think that makes you close. You are a closer participant in the work, and it makes you also closer with the maker. The distance between the maker and the viewer is smaller, I think, than if it was a film with actors, because then you would think about them. They are, and then the maker is somewhere behind.
Other from you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no other people there. It's a free space to explore all feelings.
Yeah.
Which you can't in society. I mean, we're hiding. Some feelings are okay to show, some are not.
I don't know. When I make art, and when we make art, it has to be close, close, close. It is close. I mean, even when it's not a self-portrait, it is a self-portrait, because nothing can come out of you that doesn't in some way belong to you.